Microsoft Project's just not capable of handling a schedule that has more than 2,500 line items on it.
I am getting time back in my day. I am getting a better solution to help me out.
And so we've been using their Primavera cloud version. It's challenging for some of the guys to figure out how to use it.
But the powerful thing is in having your superintendents and your contractors in the planning phases of Outbuild. And that's
But Outbuild is designed based on the construction process, and that's all that they've focused on.
you don't want to keep changing scheduling solution, right? You have
Ask us to take their schedule from Oracle and put it in Outbuild because they like Outbuild better.
your team are actually using the tools, and you don't have to do it for them.
Communication is key. Finding the right tool that makes that easier and more user friendly is what we're looking for. And Outbuild looks to be that option.
It's not just a scheduling tool, it's a scheduling and planning, and you could have all your teams in there. So, well, welcome, Patrick. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. So I'd love to first start with getting an introduction from yourself and tell me a little bit more on how you actually got into construction and what got you to get that crazy idea of being in this industry.
That's a good way to put it. Well, when I was growing up, I didn't really have a set direction that I wanted to go. Didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and I decided I enjoy solving puzzles. I enjoy building things. I enjoy making things. So construction sounded like a good idea, but I didn't want to do the labor. So I originally went to school to be a civil engineer. And after a year of that and learning about exactly what an engineer does and sits inside and on a computer all day and doesn't get out very often, I decided to change my mind and go to construction management. So I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in construction management from from Georgia Southern University. And then after I graduated, I actually graduated in the fall of 2009, right after everything just crashed. And I knew somebody who got me an interview with Juneau, and I convinced them that it would be a good idea to hire me. And somehow I convinced them during a very rough time, especially for the construction industry. And I've been here ever since. I've
Nice.
given them 15 years, been here. And for the first 14 years, I was in the field, working my way up to superintendent, and then made the move over to scheduling manager to help develop this department within our company.
Awesome. So fun story is I had the same path where I wanted to get into construction, did civil engineering, and realized I didn't like being on a computer all day. I wanted to build
Uh,
things. It's great background to have now to understand how things are designed and how it's working. Because when you're superintendent, then it helps you, connect
oh
the
yeah,
dots.
it
And then did the
does.
same. So I did construction management, and then that's when I joined DPR. I snuck out of the direct field industry, now doing doing tech, but uh,
Hmm.
the same impression of it's great to design things, but I want to see them built. And I have so many friends that are still in the design side, and they love this. It's math and calculation and so on. What I loved was being in the field just like you, and that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, I enjoy solving problems, especially complex problems, difficult ones. And so that's why or planning and scheduling department is very um, enticing to me. It allows me to go work with every project. That was something that I wanted to try and do was have more of an impact on more projects or our company as a whole, you could say. And by being a superintendent, I was just working on the one project. And so um, this opportunity allows me uh, to be able to go through all of our projects, both pre-con, active, and help the teams come up with plans to mitigate some of the risk that they're experiencing and different challenges that they're facing. And I can help them come up with that plan so that they can enact it and bring it to fruition.
How is your scheduling department structures? Because we talked to a lot of company, and some you have schedulers doing all the work and then handing it off to the teams. And I'm hearing because you are a superintendent, it's a little different at Juneau. So how is it
It's
structured? Is it you and multiple people, and really how involved are you in the scheduling versus what your teams are doing?
okay. So right now, we or shortly before I made the move to scheduling manager, we had one scheduling manager for the entire company, and he's based out of our Miami office. We've got an office in Atlanta, Tampa, and Miami. Okay, so he's based out of the Miami office, and the large majority of what he was doing at that time was helping the Miami teams, helping pre-con with RFPs and schematic and conceptual schedules. And so he was trying to do everything on his own. And it's a lot of work to try and do on your own. So that's why we wanted to try and develop this department into something that can be more useful to more people within the company. So he's basically taken everything that's in Florida, and I'm taking everything that's run out of the Atlanta office. So Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama is pretty much the area that we work out of the Atlanta office. So I do the original schedule for the project, the conceptual schedule, and I look at it from a superintendent's point of view. A lot of times we're experiencing very broad schedules when we would start our project, because it would be the executives just trying to, at a high level, put something together that made sense so that we can make the deal with the owner. So I offer a more detailed view on what this project is going to be and get a lot of the detail scheduling taken care of so that the ops team is not having to do the minutia and putting all of the small tasks that need to be put in there. I've already got that ready for them. They then can take it from there and adjust the overall sequence based on how they see it going in.
Mhm.
But to have something that is a workable schedule when they start is something that we've been wanting to get to that point. So we're now at that point with me, and we want to grow as we grow. So currently it's just two of us, but here in the near future, we'll be adding more because we're getting bigger projects. We've got one in Knoxville that's over $200 million now. And it's going to be currently 3 buildings. It'll be 4 buildings here by the end of the year. And so that project is so big that it justifies having somebody there on site full time. And
Mhm.
so we're going to be looking for somebody to go up there full time so that they can always have somebody that helps them with the program and is able to do the smaller updates and resequence work if necessary. So that's kind of where we're headed. And then we stay involved with the ops teams throughout the project, and we will do updates with the teams depending on their level of experience with the program and if they need help. Some teams we do regular updates weekly, some of them we do it monthly, some of them we don't do updates with them at all, and they come to us if there's a major overhaul or resequence that needs to be done, and they can't do all of that work because they've got more important things to do. So they'll bring us in and we help them get the plan uh, adjusted to what it needs to be.
So you're here at a guiding and support role. You're not quite here to do the job for them. It's we set you up
That's
for
right.
success. We're here to support you when you have questions, but our goal is not to just do your schedule for you. You have now the ability to do that. Which ties into, I before you used Outbuild, I'm curious on how that process was going. I know you use Microsoft Project, and I'm sure you being in charge of the scheduling group here, you had reasons why Project might not have been the best fit for you, some of the challenges you had, and why Outbuild is, helping you out. So maybe we could start with the processes you had before and how that was working, and what pushed you to look for another solution.
Okay. So 3 years ago, I believe, is when we were using Microsoft Project
Okay.
and started exploring other options once we started to see a lot of challenges with the program. So with growing as big as we are getting, Microsoft Project's just not capable of handling a schedule that has more than 2,500 line items on it. once you reach that level of detail or that amount of activities, it starts to crash. And we would have files get corrupted a lot. And sometimes you'd just be working in freeze and you'd lose all the work you had up to that point. So we started exploring options on other programs that could handle a larger amount of tasks because we do like to detail it out down to the 1, 2, 3 day activities in some cases. We don't like having anything that has over 20-day duration unless it's like a long lead time item
Mhm.
where we just put those longer tasks in there. But um, majority of the reason was the program couldn't handle us, and so we kind of outgrew it. And so we looked and we found Oracle cloud services. And so we've been using their Primavera cloud version for the last year and a half. And with nobody in the company really knowing um, Primavera, it's been a learning curve to just learn how to use the program because it is different from Microsoft enough so that it's challenging for some of the guys to figure out how to use it. And so those teams that have a harder time are the ones that we generally are helping them do updates more often. Um, so the fact that everybody is having such a difficult time um, learning Primavera, um, we looked around for something else, and then we were contacted by y'all. I hadn't heard of Outbuild. I didn't know it existed until one of your sales guys reached out to our Tampa office, and then they did a presentation for them. And after that, they forwarded it to myself and Alex Ortiz, our other scheduling manager. And then we met with them and learned what all about Outbuild, what it provides. And we thought that it would be a good move because it is a more simple to use, similar to Microsoft Project. And it's not complicated. It's not like P6 is like sitting in pilot seat and you've got hundreds of buttons. It's capable of doing so many things, but it can be overwhelming because of the amount of options you have. So you don't know exactly what to do, so it can get overwhelming for people. And so Outbuild doesn't do that because Outbuild's um, dedicated to construction. P6 and Microsoft Project can be used in just about any industry. And so it's got a lot of options that we won't use in the construction industry. And so there's a lot of stuff that's just off to the side that we're not using, we're not utilizing it to its full potential. But Outbuild is designed based on the construction process, and that's all that they've focused on. So that was something that was very interesting to us. Also, the ability to be able to do the on-site field planning and adjustments, and then being able to use roadblocks to help tell the story of what happened on this project by locking in those challenges and setting them in time. You can always go back and find out how you got to where you are now. So that's a huge benefit that you don't get with
How does that help you in like real life event? Is it helping you to better document that change so that conversation with the owner is easier? Or it could be with the subcontractor saying this is what happened, this is the truth. There's no Excel spreadsheet that was lost somewhere. We know we have the information. How do you leverage this?
it's that's exactly right. So
Okay.
it's a the way we like to look at a schedule for us is a single source of truth. So for our project, at the end of that project, we want that schedule to show exactly how that project was built. And so putting in roadblocks is similar to what I used to do with just documenting changes or delays, you could call it. Nobody likes to use that word, but we use schedule challenges. And so we would put whatever that issue was as a task, and then everything that went into solving that problem, um, the design team redesigning something, submitting it to the county for approval, the procurement for whatever material that is going to be required for that activity. And all of those steps, we would record it just as activities. But in Outbuild, you can do it as roadblocks and track everything within that roadblock area. And so at the end, you can go to all your roadblocks and they're tied to those tasks, but they're kind of off separate. So they're not jumbling up the amount of things that you have to go through when you're reviewing that schedule.
And what would you say is the direct impact to be able to track this correctly? Is it for you making sure that you could track things on time, making sure that you deliver your projects on time, saving time for your field? Because you don't want to keep changing scheduling solution, right? You had project, you had Oracle, you're getting into Outbuild, and I know it weighs on team. It's scheduling is a big important thing. So ultimately, would you say that it's the ease of use just makes it that your team are actually using the tools, and you don't have to do it for them, which probably frees your time to focus on the issues that you need to solve, and they have a tool that they enjoy using, so they're actually using it. And the more they could plan and replan and collaborate, that will help, or hopefully finishing those projects on time. But it's difficult to quantify, but that's the ultimate goal.
So D, all of the above,
Oh, the
all
above.
those things. Yeah. So it helps in all aspects that you just said. We haven't used it for long enough on some of the projects that we're using it on to
Mhm.
get into some of those phases. But I know that the teams are ready. Brittany's been training them. And once we do get to that point, they're going to be ready to be able to use those tools. So we've talked about how we're going to do it and how we're going to use those tools in these different situations. So they're ready for it when it happens. We haven't had to use any just yet, but we've only been using Outbuild for 3 months now on these projects because
Yeah.
the projects that we instituted Outbuild in the test projects for this year, they didn't start up till like 3 months ago. So now they're going through the demo phase and the underground and deep foundation, stuff like that. So they're coming out of the ground. Once they get out of the ground and get the structure start going up, more stuff will start to happen. And then that's when we'll be utilizing that more often. But the ability to be able to do that is very intriguing.
What did the superintendents use before? Because if the one that didn't know how to use project or P6, was it an Excel spreadsheet, the 4 weeks look ahead that they would build out? Oh,
No,
did
it was in
no.
Microsoft Project. Pretty much
Okay,
everybody here, like all our superintendents, they all know how to use Microsoft Project. That's what we
nice.
were trained on. And so pretty much all of us can use it. And so that's where we would, before we had the scheduling department, the superintendent was the one who was in charge of scheduling for that project. They were the ones that maintained that schedule. They were the ones that made the updates and documented any challenges that they faced. So that was part of my responsibility when I was a superintendent, was to manage that schedule and make sure it's always up to date and being sent out on a regular basis to the subcontractors and the owners. Communication is key. So finding the right tool that makes that easier and more user friendly is what we're looking for. And Outbuild looks to be that option.
Awesome. Did you so I know you're rolling out new tool after new tool after new tool in this case, and I think you're trying to be set on one because it's not never fun to switch it out. How was it taken with your teams, and how do you feel like we're helping you overcome that bump of, oh, there's a new tool yet again? Don't worry, it's going to be okay.
Yeah. They take it about as well as you think they would.
Yeah.
Nobody likes change. Everybody has gotten used to the way we did it, and it's what they understand. And so it makes sense to them. So when you integrate a change into any process, there's going to be some difficult feedback. And we're experiencing that with some teams, and other teams absolutely love it. like our Knoxville team, we were doing two of the buildings on Oracle, the first two that we started. And then the third one that's just now got started is one of our test programs on Outbuild. And we've actually had the first phase team ask us to take their schedule from Oracle and put it in Outbuild because they like Outbuild better. And so I'm hoping that that mindset continues on through the teams and they begin to see the value in it. And so it making that transition should get better. But yeah, it's difficult right now because we just made the change to Oracle and had to tell everybody they had to use it. And then now we're maybe changing again. And so that's a difficult thing to understand. But what they all understand is that it is necessary for us to grow and it's what we need to do to move forward. And so they're both, or they're all willing to
To try
do what it
and
takes,
participate. Yeah.
yeah, to participate because explaining what Outbuild is capable of doing the way that y'all have to us and our teams, um, they have a lot of faith in what Outbuild can do for them. And so they're eager to use it and let it help them solve problems in their lives and make their lives easier. And ultimately, that's what we're all looking to do is make our lives easier, make challenges um, be solved quicker. So it's something that um, we're looking forward to being able to um, live through the benefits that Outbuild provides.
And it's probably, I mean, getting buy-in from your team makes it easier when you go to the next 10 teams, I'm sure, because you could say, that PM, that's super, they like it. And this is through that. What I
Mhm.
think is also important is you're not just providing them a different color scheduling tool, right? Project to P6, similar functionalities. Why I believe, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, but where we differentiate ourselves is it's not just a scheduling tool. It's a scheduling and planning, and you could have all your teams in there. So they don't feel like, oh, I'm driving that same car with a different color. It's, or maybe I'm getting in that plane now. I'll take me from point A to point B, but I am getting time back in my day. I am getting a better solution to help me out. And often we get compared as just a scheduling tool. And we explain our customers or prospect we're talking to, yeah, we do scheduling, but the powerful thing is in having your superintendents and your contractors in the planning phases of Outbuild. And that's what will make their life easier because you don't have to now have someone like Patrick full time making schedule updates for them, and which I think makes everybody's life easier. And in the end, if you resent the tool, I've learned P6 and I had that, the book, the 1,000 pages book that you have to all the stuff. You start there, you just don't want to start. You're like, oh my God, dear, this is going to be brutal, and you have other things to do. And I'm glad to hear that things are going great with our customer success team because we know the transition is difficult. So the more we could support you there, you get a happy partner for 10, 20 years. The point is not for you to switch out and go to someone else in 2 years.
That's right. I like the way you put that partnership. That's what it feels like with Outbuild between um, Lee and Brittany and Taylor and you. I feel like your one of your focuses is us being able to use your product well, and you make sure that you don't just like Taylor was the sales guy. He got it to us. He convinced us that we needed to try it, and then it's hands off. I'm not. Well, that's not exactly the way it is with you. One of the things that I when I'm explaining this to the teams is that we have an opportunity to team up with Outbuild and build this program into something that is tailored for us. Like we have an opportunity to meet with y'all and show you things that we wish we could have in this program, things that it doesn't do, we wish it would do, or things that it does, we wish it didn't do, and be able to help tailor and grow this program to what the potential that it has. And so being in on the ground level of that, I mean, y'all have only been in business, what, 5 years? So being having that partnership and the ability to be able to grow together is very beneficial for both of us.
And exactly. And the more we get feedback from our users, that's why we're successful is we're not guesstimating what features would be nice. It's we have 10 superintendent asking for this. Does it make sense to the other 1,000 that we have in the product? Yes. Or
Mhm.
no, we have 1,000 that are asking for something different. So we could explain to you, maybe Patrick, you know what, you want this feature, but what about this way? Because all the other teams are using it that way. Would it make sense to you? And that's why we're being very strict about how we develop the product is only by customer facing. There's other things we could do on like, oh, this might help us sell more. This might help us do this,
Mhm.
but I could sell you a product, but if you don't end up using it and benefiting it and talking about it to you, to your team members, you won't renew and you're not going to
That's right.
stay. So that makes absolutely no sense. I had a question I wanted to ask because I am the one often that gets to talk to maybe sometimes larger companies and companies like yours that have more than one schedulers, maybe a scheduler assigned to most of the projects. And they often feel we often get shut down right away because they feel like we are either after their job because we tell them, that's going to help get the field more involved and you don't have to be the one making all the P6 or project update on your own. You can be a coach, be a partner to those teams instead of being the data entry master.
Mhm.
And we often get shut down because some of them just feel like, oh, I know the tool, I know my tool, I don't want to change, and I don't quite see how it's going to help me. So I'd be curious on your end. You've been in both sides. How do you see Outbuild helping you, and what would you tell to one of those schedulers? In your own words about their concern.
I mean, the major concern with anyone in trying to sell anyone on any new product is the fact that your product can solve the problems they're experiencing with the other product that they're using. You got to give them a good incentive to change. Nobody likes change. And so if you can incentivize them and explain to them that the change will benefit them and you can make them see how it will benefit them and that it will save them time, it'll make their lives easier. If you can do that, they're going to be more apt to uh, listen to you or hear you out. Um, for us, the timing was pretty good because when you approached us was when I was learning P6. So when I moved from superintendent to scheduling manager, I was using Microsoft Project. And so I had to learn P6. So I was in that kind of phase of trying to figure out how everything works within that program. Well, I've got a better idea of how it works now and I'm more comfortable with it. But when you approached us, I was very frustrated with the program because I didn't fully understand it yet. And so you offered a solution to my problem, and it was one that made sense because the way that you have the program set up is honestly how my brain works when I think about a project. The way you've got it structured is how I think about it, and so when I look at it, it just makes sense to me. And I've had that explained to me by other people is that it just makes sense. It's not overly complicated. There are some tools that y'all are working on to make it more robust, but what's there is perfectly capable of operating a $200 million job or more. It's not something that should just be used on smaller projects. I think it's more beneficial on bigger projects. There's a lot of collaboration. Being able to tie it into Procore is another huge thing. Procore is we bought into it fully. Procore is part of our process. We do just about everything except for our accounting, and we do some accounting in it, but we have another project or we have another program that we use for specifically for accounting. Um, but Procore, we manage a budget within Procore. We manage our QA, QC, our best practices, our drawings, our submittals, shop drawings, all of it through Procore. And so being able to tie this program back into Procore and it be able to communicate with our submittals and our RFIs and being able to tie it to roadblocks, it just it brings it all the ecosystem fits well together.
Yeah.
So it with it fitting well, it's an easier transition. Not to mention for us, because it is a little more simple to use, a little more Excel based, kind of like project is, makes it more comfortable because it's in a format that they're used to and I was used to. So it makes it a little easier to transition. And if you can show them how there are similarities and the change isn't going to be as difficult as they think it is, then you have a better shot.
We always hear sometimes some crazy features that, and I know sometimes, you get so deep into a P6 or a project, there's functionalities that only one might need, and the team doesn't quite even know what it does. And that's
Yeah.
why sometimes we get stuck on. And what I always ask is, do you think your project would be delivered early if your PMs and your supers are involved, or if you keep telling them what to do? And in the end, it's benefiting you as a scheduler, because I'm sure you're not having that much fun modifying schedules all day. What you love is building. What you love is coaching, is telling them, I see a problem here because you see one project, I'm working on 20 and I've worked on thousands of schedules. I could tell you here, we need to look at that. And that's what we're trying to tell them. And we know change is the number one worry. And if you've built a career on being a master at project of P6, it'll take time. But more and more we're seeing yourself, and I'm thinking of Cal at a company in Indiana that was like you, I'm managing all those schedules. It's crazy. And I said, well, no, I told them how to do the look ahead, and I can get the information I need when I need it. And I could be of help because I could see all the jobs and the ones that are ahead or behind. And I don't feel like I'm just a coder, almost an engineer, clicking all day. I'm actually
Hmm.
helping build. And this is, I think, why even all of us, if you're in construction, is because you love Legos as a kid and you wanted to build something, and you like seeing something built, not just pushing, the keys on a scheduling tool.
Yeah, none of us got into this business because it was easy and it was just exciting and fun to
Mm-hmm.
do. It's a challenge, and when you the thing I love most about construction is there's a tangible um, result to all the hard work that you've done. So 5 years down the road, I can drive out of that building and my kids and my wife are sick and tired of this. Is Daddy built that?
Yeah.
Daddy helped build that. Oh, I did that one. That was 10 years ago. I love being able to drive by the buildings that I've helped work on. And you can see that tangible result of all of the work, all the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into those projects, all the challenges that you faced, and the excitement you get once you have gotten over that challenge and you have solved it in a meaningful way. It makes you feel good. And that's why we get into this. We like a challenge. We face a challenge head on. We don't run from it. That's just the way that people in this industry think.
And that's so true. And I'm lucky enough that I come from a old school family of builders in France, and my grandfather does the same to me. And in a way, that's what got me into it. I want to be proud of my work just like it is. And you don't have a lot of people, a lot of jobs, you don't have a tangible thing. You could say, I'm proud. I did this. I built this.
Hmm.
And that's the industry. The construction industry is one of the few industries where you could get to say, I sweat on that project for 3 years, and now it's built, and it's that hospital that's helping people being treated, or whatever it might be. But it's true. It's all tied to us wanting to solve challenges. That's all you do.
That's
You're
it.
problem solver. That's all. You're a problem solver. You remove roadblocks all day, and then you can plan as much as you want. But if you don't have all those issues getting moved out of the way, guess what? It's not going to happen.
That's right.
Awesome. I know we are about 30 minutes in. I think it's all I had. I don't know if there was anything, Patrick, you wanted to bring up, but there was a lot of good content, a lot of
Yeah.
good conversation. It's always exciting to hear from you. I know my team is coming in. Is it next
Next
week?
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be here next Friday. I'm not sure exactly who's coming, but we're set up and ready. And I've been talking with Jesse, our senior superintendent, who's working with the scheduling department. He is very detailed and he is the one that's on the Knoxville team. So he's the senior superintendent over that one. And he's got a couple of project superintendents that are focusing on the building,
Mhm.
but it's his job to look at the project overall as a
Nice.
whole from a 30,000 foot view. And so he is very similar to me in how we've come up and we've learned to schedule, learn to use the program. And he is very focused on um, making the processes that we have work well across the board. So he's coming in. Alex Ortiz, our other scheduling manager from Miami, and myself. And so over these last few months that we've been using the program, we've been jotting down those things we'd like to see either be added or just done a different way, or maybe there's a way to do this and we just don't know it yet. So that's the goal, is to sit down with your team and run through all those things that we found and come up with either solutions for them, or y'all show us
Yep.
how it's done in there.
Absolutely. And that'll be powerful for us. The more we could have feedback on this is how
Mhm.
I want to use that tool or how that new solution, it helps us when we tell that to our engineers, this is why we're building things. I know Brittany is coming. Colin, I think we have a new rep that's doing all the East Coast now. And he also
Yeah.
has a couple customers in Atlanta. So I think he'll come in to meet you guys and make sure he could know that she's available for you. If there's anyone you have in mind, I think it's always useful to talk to your team as far as the benefits, because you could relate and say, oh, we work with Juneau and these are some of the things we see that are
Mhm.
benefiting. Because we like to spread the word. It's a lot of people are just like you said, you didn't know about Outbuild and it's something new, and I'm changing the way I'm doing things. So the more we could keep them comfortable with, you're not the first one, don't worry. We've had hundreds coming before and it's working. That's usually all
Mhm.
they need. It's a bit of a warm and fuzzies, because few construction companies or few people in general want to be the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
And it's not at that stage yet. But that's awesome. I'm excited to see a bunch of pictures from that training. A lot of good feedback.